I will help you. So you get a little bit of water on your 1-inch flat wash, just kind of rub it on the side. You don't want too much water, just enough to make it smooth. And looking at your printout, we've got tones of blue that go into purples and some of that magenta with the red. So we're going to be using those 3 colors that we've got, plus a little bit of the white to get some of the lighter parts. When you're mixing your paint, try to pull a little bit. Don't mix a ton because you want these colors to change as you go through the canvas. And don't dip right in the top. Try to pull a little bit from the side. So I'm pulling a little bit of blue down. And I'm going to pull some purple over. We'll get to a nice blue. You can always touch it on the side of your paper to see if you're kind of close to the color that you're looking for. And you want to start in that top corner. Make sure you go around your sides when you get to them. Thank you, ladies. Bye. Yep, so we want to go around that top. Now I want it a little bit darker in areas, so I might add a little bit more blue or a little bit more purple. And I want it to kind of smooth them together. I don't want to use a lot of water. Water tends to make things really get soupy pretty quick. And if you want a smoother blend and not so many brush strokes, paint with your brush kind of at a 45-degree angle and make sure you're hitting the side of the brush instead of the end, and that way you'll get a little bit smoother brush strokes in there. You can do 2 coats. Because this is a kind of a quick painting, you'll have time to do a second coat if you want. I'm going to go ahead and grab a little bit of red. Now that red can mix with your blue to make a little bit different purple also, or you can mix the red with your purple to make more of a magenta. So right here you can see I've got a definite hard line of those 2 colors getting close to each other, but they don't feel like they're blending well. Just kind of slightly go in there sideways. Yeah, Luna, that's too loud, baby. Now I want to use a little bit of red near my white and make a pink also. Maybe want to grab a little bit more white in there, a little bit of purple. this, it's not, it's, you don't have to be like perfect where you put it. You want it somewhere on your top left. You don't want it to drop below your corner though. So you want it up. I would say it goes over halfway, of course, on this side, but it stops on the left around halfway or below. You can kind of decide where you want it. I'm going to stop mine there. And I'm just going to draw around. I do want that to go over the edge. So just kind of mark it in there a little bit. Now when we're painting this moon in with white, that fine chalk is going to absorb into the paint and it's going to change it to a little bit of gray. You can always add more white to get it lighter and lighter, but a little bit of shadow is okay. The next thing I'm going to do is grab my small glass and I'm going to put it, you can decide where you want it. I want mine a little bit down, around, and I'm going to draw around that side, but I'm not going to connect it. I'm not going to go off the canvas with it. You can if you like, but if you want it like the image, you don't want to go off. So that's all we're doing there. We're left-handed. It may be easier for you to paint this if you turn it. If you're right-handed, usually it is, because when you're doing circles, it's best to keep your elbow planted and go like this way. So if you're having to go the opposite way, there's a lot of variables in your bones that change, you know, as your wrist moves and all that. So if I start here, I can just move my wrist and just continue to go around. If I go outside of the line a little bit, it's okay. This is my moon. It can be a little different. Now, touch around the edge of the canvas on the top and the side. Now I'm going to wipe my brush off because I've probably picked up all that fine chalk. And it's probably a little bit of gray. I don't have to wash it, but I'm just going to wipe it on my blue rag. Pick up some more white paint. And I want to paint probably about an inch in. So I'm going to kind of come along the edge of that moon on the inside and just paint in. About a ½ inch to an inch along the side. And now what my job is going to be is to kind of fade that. So if I haven't used my 3/8 angle brush, now you can make one side a little bit bigger. If you're looking at that printout, you'll notice that it's a little bit bigger maybe down here, then it goes back in, then maybe it's a little bit bigger here, and then it goes back in. So you don't want this to stay the same width consistently around that moon. You want some to come up a little bit higher than others. So with my angle brush, I want to come in there and kind of, I may have to add a little bit more paint to it. Wipe it off. I'm going to keep it fairly dry. And I want to blend that until it kind of goes away. So I will have to add more paint because this paint dries pretty quick. So I'm going to add some paint, then wipe my brush. Then with little tiny circles, go in there and kind of blend that paint until it kind of disappears. Now you've got a lot of freedom here because you don't want all of this to be the same width. And because this moon kind of fades in and out, it gives you freedom on the darker part or the more heavy part of the white too. You can always come back in and add a little bit more in there. I'm going to go ahead and fix mine back down. I can continue painting this just with it like that.
Top corner of the paint. Top here.
Oh, yeah.
Good. I'm not telling you what to do.
No, I just hadn't got my edge yet.
So if you got some darker or more saturated areas with the white, that can kind of symbolize like craters maybe on the moon, or, you know, just about anything. Maybe it's just where you see a little bit more depth. So I'm not using water, remember? I mean, we had a little bit in there in the beginning, but not really much now, because the water will loosen up your first layer of acrylic, and it will end up pulling off your paint. This is easier to do with a blender brush. And I will tell you, the best blender brushes are typically makeup brushes, contour brushes, eyeshadow brushes, powder brushes.
All those things that I don't use because I don't wear makeup.
Yeah, if you're painting at home, a blender brush can be like irreplaceable. You can get them cheap at like the Elf brand. You just want to make sure that they're soft and they're short bristle. The shorter the better. You can get them at TJ Maxx sometimes. You can get a whole set of like 6 or 8 for like $10 on Amazon. Like the angle ones that are the angle handle where it's a bent handle so your hands never touch the canvas. What we'll spend the most time on is this blending. Blending kind of makes it. Every now and then I might need a little bit of water in there just to kind of push some of that paint so it fades into a transparent layer. All right, start my music back. As soon as I'm sides. I'm gonna put a little bit more water on it. I don't wanna use heavy pressure. Gonna thin that black out on both sides, and you'll see I'm keeping that black at the very end of the brush. And because I'm loading it on both sides at that 45, it keeps that crispness at the end of the bristles. When I'm drawing branches, trees, any kind of plants like that, I always start at the end of the branch or the grass or whatever and pull itself into the main body. I want to start near the only thing that's important is I give the bird enough space so we can see his silhouette. So it's about a 2 to 3 finger width from your right bottom. And I'm just going to put a little line where I want that branch to come down and meet. That'll give me a visual destination, kind of like my little finish line. So now I'm going to start. My longest branch is near my moon. Now I don't paint with the full surface of the brush. I kind of hold it at an angle and just pull a few of the bristles. So I'm going to start up here and kind of give it a couple of curves and then go over and meet that main part. So we'll thicken up some of this. Don't worry if your consistency is changing, your width of the branch, because that's okay. We can always come back with a Sharpie and touch this up. You want to do a couple of branches at the end. Try to be fluid, one long stroke. Starting at the bottom, I want to come in with maybe a crooked branch here that goes up and meets and comes back in the main body. You can see I'm having some separation with my brush. I can always come back. I want to thicken those up a little bit. Sometimes you can get it too thin. You don't want it to feel like little twigs. We've got to have some weight on that branch so it can hold our bird. Coming down with another branch that goes off of my canvas at the bottom, kind of splits into a Y there. And I want some of these to get a little bit thicker. I've also got another one that's going to go up and come back down. And again, we want to make that a little bit thicker. So I've elongated mine a little bit more than what you see in the original. Now I'm going to start thickening up. After I pull in a couple more branches, I want to thicken up the main body of the branch that goes off where our bird's sitting. Make sure you go around the side of the canvas with that. I'm going to have some more little branches. Now I want some to cross over. Don't keep them all separated. You want some to cross over.
See, she sounds like me.
Oh shit.
I say that at least once a project.
What's that?
Is that a French
Oh,
lady
shit.
painting?
Works for my brain.
Lie in front of it. You know they did a study on cussing,
Smart people do it.
and it said that you have better mental health because you express yourself.
I must be the healthiest person
I
then.
heard that. Damn.
I mean, honestly, if my daughter could talk, her first word would be one that started with an F.
We were in the closet getting ready before we came up here and we were getting cheese.
I'm not in your damn way.
Oh, yeah? It's
Are you sure?
seriously? Because I think you are.
Terrible, terrible.
Brought you in this morning.
I'm 37. My mother still tells me that.
Oh, I'm quite sure Mary Louise. I love her.
She's point blank told me the only reason she kept me around was so I'd give her August. I told her that was messed up because there was no guarantee I was having kids.
She was hoping that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so once we've mangled these branches, what are you doing?
Yes.
We're gonna add some leaves in
No,
just a
no,
second.
no.
No.
Now, let's go back to these lines that are supposed to look like something.
On our branches. And because we've got that great angle of that brush, the way we do our leaves, of course it's still in black, the point of the brush should be facing away from your branch. So I'm going to draw on my hand real quick to show you. Let's see, that's my branch. The point's away, and I'm just going to push it down, heavier pressure on the back end of the brush, and it's going to give me leaf shapes.
Those are my favorite kind of leaves because they're so easy.
Great. You just push the brush down and pick it up. Okay, pretty easy. Just make sure you've got enough paint on your brush, and you can make them different sizes. I'm going to start towards the end. You don't have to actually touch the branch because it's implied that stem is so small that the light going around it would pretty much envelop it, and you wouldn't be able to see much of that anyway. I don't want a lot of leaves. I want this to feel maybe more fallish. So maybe I'm losing my leaves.
Losing my mind?
That's what I'm doing. I get no respect. I get no respect.
That's a new expression. Love that expression. I'm gonna start using that from now on, especially in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
I could have used that expression last
Losing my
night.
leaves.
Uh-huh.
Birdie. All right, you can do the bird as big or as small as you'd like. You want to make sure that you go up at least a finger distance away, maybe a finger and a half away from your branch, and you want to make sure that you start to where you've got enough area to do his tail. What I want to do first is an oval. Now we can change the shape a little bit. If we needed a bigger bird, we can always add a little bit of that. It's really forgiving when you're doing a silhouette because you can add more black to it. After you do that oval, then you won't think about the little bird head. So we're going to make it more of an oval this way. And then just connect the neck on the back. Maybe if you want that bird a little bit bigger on the bottom side. And then you give it a little bit of a beak. Now the beak is going to be in the direction that the bird is looking. So if you do it straight this way, he's looking this way. If he's looking up at the moon, you want to kind of angle that up a little bit more. At the back, I'm going to extend that tail. And then of course it's going to have two little legs. You don't have to draw the legs in. because, we'll just paint those in. I'm gonna make the chest a little bit bigger. Do it to shape it up later. Now, remember, a little bit of paint, you wanna paint right on top of the line, or if you need a smaller paint beside it, when it's dry, you can always wipe your fine chalk away. So with my beak, doing that beak first, and I'm using my small brush and using the point towards the end.
Oh, horrible. It's like a duck bill. Look, my whole bird looks like a duck.